Awesome. All righty. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm John Hanby, founder and CEO of Iternal Technologies. First of all, I want to give a big thank you to Datavox, as well as Alan and Jody for setting up an amazing event. Really excited to talk with you today about turnkey AI. So we are thrilled to be partnered with Dell Technologies. They were actually one of our first customers. I started the business about 7 years ago. Dell has been a large leading customer of ours for about 5 years now. They use our AI and automation solutions globally. And about 2 years ago, some of the senior leadership approached me and said, hey, we love your technology. We'd love to partner with you guys and combine your software with Dell's amazing portfolio of hardware and services offerings. And we said, absolutely. So we're really excited to speak with you and bring this concept of out-of-the-box, easy, and powerful generative AI to companies of all sizes, whether you're a small business or you're a large-scale enterprise. This is something that can deliver immediate, tangible, and proven value at small scale as well as massive scale. So with that in mind, people always like to want to know how to pronounce the company name. So it's Iternal, like iterate eternally. So we combine the two words, that's how we got Iternal. And I want to just kick things off today with this idea of what is a platform, because the word is used so commonly across the AI and software spaces. And so setting the stage with probably one of the most popular platforms that's ever existed, whether you love it or hate it, Microsoft Office. So the power of Microsoft Office is that these are applications that you can use in many different ways, right? Microsoft Word you can use as a lawyer or as a novelist, right? You can write complex contracts or you can write some fascinating fantasy story. But it's really about how you as the user bring your creativity and your capability to that technology that makes it work for you. Same thing is true with Excel or PowerPoint, whether it's a presentation like this on technology or it's a third grade teacher that's putting together a presentation for students, you can use PowerPoint the same way. So with that in mind, we have our own platform, and this is the turnkey AI platform. And it really comes down to a collection of different applications that are designed for very specific business use cases to accelerate your ability to increase the performance of your teams and realize AI wins quickly. So just to kind of level set, I like to say that the world thinks in files and we like to think in ideas. One of the biggest changes that we're seeing in this new AI transformation is the importance of high quality data to feed your AI, right? If your data is messy, it's got lots of redundancy, duplication. If you feed that messy data into an AI, you're not going to get good results. Now, everybody just kind of likes to jump to the finish line and say, we want to use AI immediately and we want to see a quick win. And so a lot of times that initial data preparation step is lost, right? And so it's lost for a couple of reasons. The first one is it's not fun to do, right? And we'll kind of go through that today here in a couple minutes of how insurmountable of a task it really can be. But in addition to the importance of that cleanliness of data, it's also really important that that data is organized in a way that an AI can really make good use out of that data. So with that in mind, everything that we do and everything that we can bring to you all in terms of real world, tangible business outcomes, this is not a platform where you have to use a command line. This is not something that you have to install things. This is truly ready to go out of the box. It's a fully integrated solution of hardware, software, and services that you can deploy literally in a couple of hours if you do it in a managed service cloud environment, or a couple of weeks if you're deploying some of that infrastructure on-prem. So let's talk about the platform. It really breaks down into three major categories. And the questions are, well, what are you actually trying to accomplish? Because we have a platform that spans every department of an organization, whether that's sales, marketing, customer engagement, IT operations, legal, procurement, finance, you name it. We have an out-of-the-box solution that can bring value to those teams. So the first question we do when we do a workshop, ideation, and strategy session with a customer or with a partner is we ask one of these questions, right? These are the three major buckets that we see as how our technologies can play in these different spaces. And there's a lot of information crammed into one slide here, And we'll talk about each of these different applications, but it really boils down into these three buckets. The first one being, are you frequently telling the same story over and over again? Right? This is common for salespeople. It's common for marketing teams. It's common for healthcare practitioners or K through 12 educators. All right, this is about communicating really important information that has to be accurate and doing it many times in a row. That's where our suite of hyper-personalization technologies comes into play. The second major use case is around document analysis. This is really common for things like legal teams, procurement teams, anything where you're processing large amounts of data that's coming in and you need to take action on that data. I'll give you a good example. We are working right now with one of the top 3 pharmaceutical companies in the US, and they have over 1.8 million legal contracts that are within their scope of business. And they're adding about 150,000 new contracts every single year. Now, the big challenge that they have is they are eligible for manufacturer rebates. But the issue is only some of those contracts have manufacturer rebate terms in them, and they don't know which ones those are out of the 1.8 million, whether they're expired, whether they're active, whether they have met the criteria. So literally every single one of those contracts that they're missing is about $10 million of lost rebates. And so it's a needle in a haystack problem. So what we were able to do was come in with our auto reports document analysis solution, and we can take all 1.8 million of those contracts, run them through our auto reports document analysis tool, and out the other side, we can create a funnel that basically goes from 1.8 million contracts down to like 500 contracts that are meeting the various criteria that are important to them. Like, for example, is the contract active? Does it have rebate terms? Is it a high percentage rebate for the purchases? All the different things that somebody in procurement and legal would care about. And out the other side, then we can take those 500 contracts and we can say, here are the ones that we think that your humans should review to make the determination on whether or not this is a valuable thing to action on. And by the way, if they just find one contract in that sea of 1.8 million that they missed, which I guarantee they're missing a lot of them right now based on what we know, it literally pays for the solution like a couple times over. So massive value and impact. So at a high level, there are 6 solutions. These is like the quick one sentence for each of them. The first one that is really cool is called AirGap AI. So AirGap AI is like ChatGPT, but it runs 100% locally on a Dell AI PC. So the power there is you can get completely secure, truly isolated AI technology that you can own, that you can control, that doesn't send any data to the cloud. And we're going to unpack that one a little bit more because that is by far the most popular solution that we have to offer. The other cool thing about it is it's sold as a one-time perpetual license per device. You get to own it for as long as you use that device, and MSRP is $96. So it's a tenth of the cost or less of Microsoft Copilot. This has been enormously popular for healthcare organizations, for financial services, state and local governments, K through 12 education, and of course, large enterprises and global organizations as well. But data security, of course, is a big focus for everybody. So we'll come back to that one here in a little bit, but it's definitely been a big one for us. The second one is called Blockify. Now, this goes back to that data cleanliness challenge that I was talking about before. Every organization's data is messy, and it's not necessarily the people's fault. But the issue is every time you evolve your messaging, right, you go from version 2 of a product to version 3 of a product, there are going to be new iterations of your sales collateral, your marketing collateral, the way you position your solutions in the market. And over time, you may have multiple different versions of that, stored within a repository and on local devices that your salespeople use when they're going to meet with customers. The other big challenge with data management is a lot of salespeople, and I'm a salesperson by trade, and my dad is too, so I know what this is like. Everybody has their golden master deck, and it's not the company's golden master deck; it's their special, personal golden master deck, and they like to change things and modify things to make it really flow for what they're communicating. The challenge, however, is when corporate releases a new version of that deck, most salespeople will take their version and they will copy the new slides from the golden master into their preferred PowerPoint presentation versus the other way around. And so sometimes there's data that gets very old that's within that original deck that they use every single day. And when you give that deck to an AI, the AI is going to look at that date modified and it's going to say, oh, it was modified last week. This must be the most accurate, up-to-date information. But I've got another person on my sales team that's saying, this is the most accurate, up-to-date information. And now you have 1,000 different documents that all said that they were modified within the last week that all have different information and different versions of the statistics because of when they were last updated. And that confuses the AI, and that's how hallucinations occur. So what Blockify allows you to do is basically take that data mess of millions of documents, and we can ingest and distill and optimize them for an AI, which ultimately results in about a 78 times accuracy improvement. Now that's 7,800%. There isn't another solution in the market that can do that. So we'll talk about that one a little bit too. For the organizations who do a lot of proposal work, we have an RFP response platform that is powered by Blockify. So once you clean and optimize and improve the accuracy of that data set, you can start using it in a lot of different ways. You can plug in that Blockify data set into Air Gap AI and use that AI securely, trusted with your own data, completely locally without a network connection. Or you can plug it into our Waypoint RFP response platform and generate 100-page RFP responses in a couple of hours versus weeks or months. We talked about the auto reports solution a little bit already. That is the document analysis solution where we can take all those legal contracts and things like that. We have another customer that's in the state and local government arena. They are using it to analyze educator transcripts and certifications for people who want to become new teachers and validate that they have the necessary credits, because it takes a long time to read through somebody's transcripts because every college and university kind of has a different way of doing it. So we can actually use AI to intelligently analyze those transcripts and create a unified, structured format that they can read through very quickly and say, yes, this person does meet the criteria. And if there's anything of question, right, that can be highlighted and investigated further. So auto reports allows you to do all of that with no code. So IT teams love this because there are a lot of use cases across an enterprise that can benefit individual business teams. Like, there are tons of use cases in legal and procurement and sales and marketing, but your IT organizations are probably focused on like 3 to 5 really high priority tasks, but there are probably 100 additional ones that they simply don't have the time for, but they're just as valuable to the individual teams. And so what auto reports and all of these solutions enable you to do is have a trusted platform that IT can verify, can monitor, can validate that is within security and compliance requirements. But then the individual team stakeholders, because it's so easy to use, they can build their own workflows on top of that platform, getting all the benefit of flexibility and customization if they want to, without having to risk this new concept of shadow AI, which is becoming the new version of shadow IT. Nebulous is a prioritization engine. It allows you to strategically align business value and outcome with the work that people are focused on. I'll give you a really good example. We're working with one of the largest top 3 telco providers in the US, and they manage a ton of their own data centers. Specifically, one data center has over 4,000 new IT support tickets that come in every single day. And the issue with that is pretty much 1,000 of those tickets are marked as high priority. And if you have 1,000 high priority tickets every single day, you have no high priority tickets. And that's a big challenge because it's weeding through what is actually important and what is not important. And by the way, this is an occurrence that can happen where you may have something that is, it's a 30-day out impact. Maybe it's, you have to patch some mission critical system, but it doesn't come around for that patch for the next 30 days. But when it happens, it's like really important. So what we can do is we can actually find those needles in a haystack and elevate them, because maybe on day 30, somebody puts it in and they mark it as low priority. And so now you've got 1,000 high priority tasks in that really mission critical patch that's marked as a low priority, and they forget to change it. Now you're 30 days in, you have a massive outage because you didn't do that upgrade or patch, and now you got a big issue because it was marked as low priority. So what Nebulous allows you to do is basically make sense of all of that spaghetti of interconnected dependencies and requirements, make it really easy to find those diamonds in the rough. We also have a suite of hyper-personalization technologies where we can actually engage with customers at a one-to-one scale. Dell uses this extensively. We did a personalized marketing campaign to 25,000 of Dell's targeted customers, where each individual customer received their own unique personalized video. So things like that are also possible. Okay, so why does this all matter, and what impact can we have to you as customers? And it really comes down to, there's a lot of AI noise out there. There are a lot of solutions that say, hey, we can do exactly what you're looking for, but on further investigation, you find that maybe it's missing a user interface, or maybe it requires some additional work that's going to take a longer time to stand up than was originally promised. This is truly out of the box. So if you buy this technology and you say, I want to install it on my laptop and just click the button and it will work, Air Gap AI will do that immediately on day one. Same thing is true for our data center solutions. This has everything from that infrastructure all the way through to the end user interface. So it makes it really easy for you to see that value. And we don't start with a multi-million-dollar price tag on this. Of course, depending on your use case, sometimes it can reach that. But we start with a small scale pilot. Right? Depending on what you're trying to accomplish, a pilot can be in the range of say $10,000 to $50,000, where you can actually see the value, you can measure the ROI, and you can immediately determine, is this going to make a significant impact in my business? And if so, what is that payoff period going to be? So then we can scale it intelligently. So with that in mind, let's go into why Turnkey AI. So the great thing about Turnkey AI as a solution is this is an enterprise secure platform. We designed it for the Fortune 100. We have multiple large-scale financial institutions in the Fortune 100. We have technology companies. We work with Intel, with NVIDIA, with AMD. They are using this technology, and we designed it for that enterprise scale. So the power there is, everybody cares about data security and is very sensitive about it, right? That customer information is your lifeblood. And so being able to have the confidence knowing that we can pass these IT security audits with flying colors, it's like a really good thing. The first time we worked with Dell, we sent in our security questionnaire. They had 200 questions. They came back to us because we hadn't heard from them for 2 weeks. And they came back and they said, yeah, we don't have any questions for you. You're good to go. It was literally that easy. It's never that easy. But we really engineered this to be something that could scale, that could take just as much rigor on the product and the capability as in the security side. So we've kind of already covered a lot of the other things, so we're going to go ahead and move on. But if there's anybody techie in the room that likes to build their own applications on top of other technologies, we do have a really robust API where you can integrate this into other existing solutions that you may have, whether that's something like a Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics or ServiceNow or any other platform that you may have homegrown. Okay, so now let's get into the product stuff, because the product stuff is fun. And we're going to do a demo of a couple of the technologies here today as well. So in 2024, I had the opportunity to present to over 550 customers in a one-to-one setting, and really ask them a lot of questions about what is their AI strategy, where are their concerns, their fears, the challenges that they're facing. And these by far were the top 3 issues that we saw across the board. The first one, cost and ROI. So when you think about deploying AI within your organization, one of the first things that everybody looks at is Microsoft Copilot, because it's easy. It's probably within your suite of what you're already using with Microsoft Office. And for $30 per user per month, doing a test with 10 people, not a huge deal, right? Let's get some AI going and see what the impact is. The challenge, however, is when you look at scaling that, maybe those first 10 users, I see some nods in the audience, that's good. When you look at scaling those first 10 users to 100 users or 1,000 users, or in some of our customers' cases, 100,000 users, that $30 per user per month is immediately a non-starter. And I know one organization that is, they're very big and they're a very close Microsoft partner, and they are not getting much of a price cut on that $30 per month either. With that in mind, it immediately begs the question, how am I going to deploy an AI that I can get immediate value out of across my entire user base? Because everybody's going to use it differently. Not everybody is as enthusiastic as others, and not everybody knows how to prompt the AI. right? A lot of these organizations, and you may be included in that, have blocked access to free AI tools like ChatGPT. And the reason for that is because if you're not paying for these solutions, the deal is they get your data. And a lot of customers are concerned about, having one of the vendors that they work with copying and pasting their sensitive information into one of those tools, right? A couple months after ChatGPT launched, there was a big news story about Samsung putting in one of their proprietary new semiconductor designs and pasting it into ChatGPT. Legally, ChatGPT and OpenAI own that data as soon as they did that. And that's still a recurring concern, right? Another popular model that's coming out of China is called DeepSeek. DeepSeek records your biometric data in terms of how you press the keys on your keyboard and what speed between those key presses. And that's the whole other level of monitoring and scary. But the point is, free is not good for enterprise because of that data risk. And so they lock it down. And when you lock it down, there's a trade-off. The trade-off is your employees do not get to learn how to use AI in their work unless you're giving them an alternative tool. Unless they have small children at home that are, in school using ChatGPT for, school projects, they're probably not getting exposed into how to actually utilize and prompt one of these AIs to get value out of it. So now you're creating a skills gap. But that's the trade-off that we have when we're working in the enterprise space. So the question is, how do you solve that? Good news is, spoiler alert, we do have a solution, which is good. But that brings us to the second component, right? This idea of data sovereignty and control. Everybody is nervous around, especially if you were like a healthcare organization or K through 12 education. I can't take my valuable sensitive patient data and send it to the cloud. Or if I do, I'm concerned about the impact of that, even with a semi-trusted party like Microsoft. Or I'm in a situation where I've got kids, I've got students. And I don't want my minors to be potentially at risk by having them use one of these AIs. They're going to put something in that they didn't realize was a not good thing to put in, and now there's an issue with that, right? So this need for local secure AI is really important. And then the final one is reducing AI hallucinations, because if you can't trust your AI once, then you can't ever trust it. And we're not producing content in like the form of written proposals or email responses, the way we used to, even a couple of years ago, right? When you start to incorporate AI into your responses, hopefully, you're not responding with 1 email per hour to customers. Hopefully, you are responding with 10 emails per hour to customers. But the question is, are those 10 emails accurate? And that's where the risk of hallucinations comes into play, right? If your AI is only giving you a good response 80 or 90% of the time, that means that 1 out of 10 times or 1 out of 5 times, you are responding with inaccurate information to a customer. And maybe that's okay a lot of the times, because everybody makes mistakes and your humans are probably making mistakes too. But what happens if it's a really big deal, the really important number, and that number is wrong? Because, the salesperson was tired, they were doing it late at night, they forgot to proof it, or their subject matter expert who was supposed to do the final check before it was sent out got so overwhelmed because now he's reviewing or she's reviewing 100 or 1,000 times the amount of content from all the salespeople that are generating these AI emails, that now you've got an issue and that one slipped through the cracks. So if you can't trust your AI, then you can't ever trust it. And that's a big issue. So we set out to solve these 3 big challenges. And that's where air gap AI comes into play. So I'm going to play a quick video here that we did with Intel that's pretty exciting. And then we'll come back to do a live demo of the technology.
AI is no longer just a tool for data scientists. It's becoming essential for every business team. But accessing AI-powered insights often means relying on the cloud, facing high costs, security risks, and complex integrations. What if AI could work locally, securely, and effortlessly? Meet AirGap AI from Iternal Technologies, an advanced, on-device AI solution. AirGap AI enables users to run the latest AI models in a large language model LLM chat experience with no setup required. And because AirGap AI runs 100% locally, no internet connection is ever required. One of the key advantages of AirGap AI is that it comes at a fraction of the cost of cloud alternatives. AirGap AI can be installed just like any other software and with 0 technical skills. AirGap AI maximizes Intel's NPU, integrated into the latest Intel Core Ultra processors. to run resource-heavy AI workloads seamlessly. And with AirGap AI's data ingestion technology, called Blockify, running on Intel Gaudi AI accelerators, users can experience a 78 times improvement in LLM accuracy. Break free from the closed cloud AI models. Your data, your AI, your software. Securely deployed by Intel and Iternal technologies.
Before we go into the demo, does anybody have any questions? Because I said a lot of words. So, yeah, go ahead.
You talked about legally with data dumping into the Samsung experience. So I was at the Samsung event a few weeks ago, and they were talking about how they're just diving headfirst into AI. So when you discuss legal, are you talking about the free tier for LLMs or a paid license version?
Well, I think the big challenge is you got to read the fine print. And so, depending on the provider, there are a lot of law firms that we work with now where we're doing like large scale document analysis. And we're maybe the third or fourth vendor that they've talked to. And every single time the conversation kind of goes the same. They say, hey, we have really cool technology. Tell us about your data policies. And we tell them, like, we don't store the data, we don't track the data, we don't keep the data. They say, really? Every other vendor that we've talked to has said something along the lines of, we get your data in 3 years. Like, all these AI companies are putting that in their terms. And it's because everybody is so hungry for the data. And so that's at the enterprise scale. And so you think if you're a smaller organization, you don't have the ability to negotiate, or you're just an individual user within a company that wants to utilize one of these AI technologies, there might be something in that print that even if you're paying for, a paid tier of the application, there is some carve out in there where they're capturing the data. I'll give you another like really significant example. When we were developing this AirGap AI solution, we use a couple of things from Microsoft. Primarily, the interface that we use to access the application is basically a version of the Microsoft Edge web browser. Well, it turns out Microsoft Edge has something called advanced spelling and grammar check that's built into the Edge browser. And a lot of people don't know this, but by default, everything that you type in to a form input text field in Microsoft Edge or any of their browser variants will be sent off to Microsoft servers for advanced spell checking purposes as a keylogger. And if you do not go into your IT security permissions and disable this or block that access point, they will do that for every computer that uses that Edge web browser. And so when we discovered that, it was hidden in the bowels of things, because we did a security check to make sure that everything that we were doing was truly air-gapped, because we designed AirGap AI for the U.S. military. We discovered that, and we had to figure out how to disable it. And I don't know for sure, because you never really know what they're going to do, but I'm pretty confident that there's some carve-out policy in there that says that logged data that they use for advanced spell checking and grammar purposes, they can use to improve the accuracy of their service. Right? And that's code for we can use it to train our AIs. So even if you're paying for something, that doesn't guarantee that you're going to have the benefit of that data privacy and trust. And that's where those legal terms are really important. Great question. Thank you.
Also, can I ask one more?
Sure. Go ahead.
So you said don't trust people. So coming from cybersecurity, we know that people aren't trustworthy. The human element is the worst. It's not if they will fail, it's when. It's why you build security around them. So we know that we can't trust the individuals already. So we have to kind of operate in a trust but verify stance. Why aren't we like that with AI?
That's a great question. I think that I think that trust but verify with AI is more difficult because of the data problem. So the data problem is I want to write proposals with AI. Great use case, right? Probably one of the most popular that we interact with. I'm going to take my top 1,000 proposals that I've ever written, and I'm going to give them to my AI so that my AI can respond in my voice. Great concept on the surface. But that immediately starts to break down when you start thinking about the quality of those documents. Let's say they're perfect on day one, right? Completely accurate, completely up to date, best language, perfect everything, which in reality we know is not possible. But let's say it is, best case scenario. I put those 1,000 proposals into my...
Good morning, all, and thank you for attending the DataBox IT, Cybersecurity, and AI Summit. Remember to stop by the DataBox booth to receive your free event pass.
I put those 1,000 proposals into my AI, And I guarantee you that
Good morning, all. Thank you for attending the DataBox Cybersecurity and AI Summit. Remember to stop by the DataBox booth to receive your free event pass.
So you put them into that AI, and let's see if it's going to go a third time. And, I get my beautiful response. This is like awesome, right? It's perfect. It's everything I look for. But then I guarantee that 6 months in the future, something about your messaging has changed. New product, new specification, new benchmarking capability, something has changed. And when it does, your proposals all need to be updated, because otherwise your AI is going to pull that outdated, inaccurate information because it's using what you had 6 months ago. And when you go in and you start to try and update 1,000 different proposals that basically all look the same, the human brain melts. And you can do some things like find and replace all, but like maybe there's a typo. Maybe it's not exactly worded the same way because it's semantics. That gets really hard and very complicated very fast. And by the way, we're not talking about 1,000 documents. We're talking about like millions of documents in these repositories that are used by the AI. So the issue and the trust but verify challenge that we have with the AI space is that the data is so complex and so messy that it's hard to maintain good control around that data. And so as a result, the whole process of trusting and verifying just kind of breaks down. And that's why what we're doing with Blockify is so powerful, because it allows you to basically take that information, simplify it, distill it down to 2.5% of the original size, and create something that is really powerful, that can be reviewed, updated, and maintained by humans. Because for any given product or service, there are maybe only 2,000 to 3,000 paragraphs that would cover every single feasible customer question. And that may sound like a lot, but 2,000 to 3,000 paragraphs split over a team of 10 people. It's 200 paragraphs. Review it once a quarter, once every 6 months, once a year, whatever your refresh cycle is. And literally in an hour or an afternoon, you can go through your paragraphs that you own, say, this one's good, oh, that one's bad, right? Version 2 to version 3, and update it, and then you're good to go. I lost my video.
Yeah, I'm working on
it.
Thank you.
Okay, so what I'm about to show you is our air gap AI application. And I like to call this the entry point for the turnkey AI platform, because it's super easy. It's an installable Windows application, so you can install it on virtually any PC. It works the best on the new AI PCs if you have one of those. But the power of air gap AI is it allows you to capitalize on that Blockify data ingestion and optimization technology that we've been talking about. But you can do that in the future. You don't have to do it on day one. But this is like ChatGPT, but it runs 100% locally on your device. So there's no network connection required. So let me go ahead here and let's get started, and we can upload a document and we can ask it a question. So I've got a bunch of case studies here that we've done with Intel. And actually, since we're talking about that medical analysis, legal, pharmaceutical document, 1.8 million legal documents, processing those. We actually have a case study on that. So I'm going to select that case study. And when I do this here, I'm going to actually tell it to make me a social media post about this, right? Common use case. You do this with ChatGPT all the time. But the power here is, again, this is doing it completely locally. So I'm going to say, like, create a LinkedIn post about this document. Use lots of emojis. Okay, and we'll go ahead and initiate that. And you can see it's running through it. This is about a 12-page case study that it's going to process, and here it is outputting it. And you can see it's like pretty fast for running completely locally. So the cool thing about AirGap AI is not only is this running locally, but it's also using open source large language models. So you can truly own the data, you can own the AI, and you can own the software, because this is sold as a one-time perpetual license. So as long as you use this device, you can have access to this. There's no recurring subscriptions, no added costs, no maintenance associated with it. You get free updates for as long as you're using the technology. And MSRP is only $96. And it's available through Datavox and Dell. So we are seeing tremendous uptake on this solution for like state and local governments, K through 12 education, healthcare institutions, financial institutions. One of our regional partners, kind of similar to Datavox, but operates out of Florida. One of their salespeople actually sold this to 5 different state counties in the same day. He literally showed him the video, played a demo. He did it himself because he's the VP of sales and he was able to demo this because it's that easy to use. And immediately they wanted to try it out. So, if you're looking for a nice, easy entry point into AI and you want to play with something, this is a great way to do it. But, this is kind of table stakes for one of these AI solutions, right? Anybody can upload a document, ask it a question. But where the real power comes in is when you start utilizing your own data with that. And that's where the Blockify component comes in. So we can actually turn different data sets on or off. So I'm going to go ahead and load in a data set here about AirGap AI. And we could ask it a question about what AirGap AI is. So we'll just say, what is AirGap AI? And we've got our data set on here, and we'll go ahead and hit enter. And this is going to start reviewing the optimized information that we've pulled in from our technology through the Blockify engine. You can see the source information here. And it's going to use this information that's trusted, that's accurate, that's up to date to package up and respond with that answer. Yeah, question?
I have a question. If we're using our own internal data, are we able to block certain types of data, i.e. like your social security number, something that's non-public information if we were to use the AI in, let's say, a banking environment to do something? Can we block certain data sets?
Yes, absolutely you could. But I think in addition to being able to block and restrict access to that data, because we can do both of those things, you can actually tag, because each piece of information here, these are all blocks. You can see this is a block here of information, right? That block can have rich metadata associated with it. So you could say, allow your HR people to see this, but not your salespeople. Or allow your legal team to see this, but not your finance people, or whatever the different policies for data sharing would be, right? You can do that kind of restriction. But in addition to that, the cool thing about this is because this is running locally within your prem, if that data is already stored securely within your environment, the data is never leaving your environment. So even if it does have that confidential PII in it, depending on your policies and procedures, you can actually process that with the AI without having to worry about that data. As long as it's an authorized person processing it, you don't have to worry about that data and that sensitive information ever leaving your prem.
Right. I was obviously AI is open to lots of data globally, but a solution where you can deploy this within your own corporate environment where it never leaves. That's what I was hoping somebody would do.
Yep. And it's easy. You literally click the exe installer and you wait 2 minutes and it installs and you're off to the races. So, go ahead.
You say it runs locally and you can get it on the corporate network and everything. Is it possible for single users to shard out their own essential AI? In other words, keep it locally to the machine itself?
Yes. So this AirGap AI is completely local to this device. So
and the information fed into it will never leave.
Correct. Yep.
So it's possible, let's say I have it on my computer, he has it on his computer. It's possible that it'll learn off of each of us differently.
Differently, yes.
Okay.
And totally separate.
And you use open source. And so anything it learns is based on the company, not, and the open source stuff. Is anything else fed into it afterwards?
You can add your own data sets if you want to. So there's an add my data button. So if you wanted to ingest additional documents, maybe local Word documents, things like that.
What I mean is with the updates and everything, is it constantly using, let's say there's a new open source, brand new open source AI. The next update includes that language learning module into the AirGap.
So the cool thing about AirGap AI is you can bring your own model. Okay. So for example, if you look here, we have 2 different models that have been loaded in here. But we support pretty much all of the major, most common models. Google's Gemini model, the open source version is called Gemma. Yeah. We support the Llama models. We do support a couple of other fine-tuned versions of the Meta models, as well as things like Mistral. So pretty much all of the open source, popular ones that are actually useful, you can upload in here. And as new ones come out, either you, if you're a technical savvy person, you can actually package your own, or we package them and release them for use within the application. So when there's a new one, you simply upload it and you're good to go.
With the API, is it possible to get it to link to just your locally devised one? In other words, could you make a device or have the locally centered on one laptop, but have the API reach out to other applications on different laptops?
So the way that that would work, we're working on like what we call a LAN version of AirGap that would be AirGap fully, but you could connect to a local server. So if you wanted to run like a larger model that is more powerful than what your device could support, then each individual AirGap equipped laptop would be able to contact and use the large language model on that central server.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Could you talk about more visibility in terms of like an administrator, who wants to know what's happening across the org, whether in AirGap or other of your tools?
So from an IT admin perspective?
Yep, because I get the part about, keeping your data secure because you're running this locally, makes sense, but kind of knowing, what's happening across the org. Are people actually using it? What are they using it for, right? I think those are important things to kind of answer or look into. Could you talk through what that looks like?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the cool thing about AirGap is because it's an installable application, it's administered through your standard image maintenance, monitoring, and device processes. So in terms of pushing updates to the application, right, that can all be handled through your standard IT image update process. If you're using like Microsoft Intune or something like that, right, you can also push new data sets to each individual device. Whenever there's a new approved sales data set or a new approved marketing data set, those can all be pushed so that the users always have that optimal experience. But the same thing goes the other way. So we do record local telemetry for each user on that device. Now, of course, it's secured within their credentials and login, so it's not being sent anywhere. But if you are the IT administrator for that device, you do, of course, have the ability to pull that information. So if you wanted to pull all of the chat histories from your employees to see what questions they're asking and what answers are being given, and maybe you want to fine tune or do some kind of additional training on that data in the future, that's all something that you could pull through that device management process, aggregate and process if you so chose.
Yep. I guess a follow up to that. With those like logs, right? Is it up to the IT admins now to be able to run a program that can capture those logs and analyze, or do you offer another parallel solution that does that?
So right now it'd be up to the IT admin. We are working on the code name for it is the mastermind server, which will do all of the updates and management as well as that bidirectional communication. That's probably 6 months or so off. But we're getting lots of customer feedback on what is desired to be included in that. One of the big requests that is now available is you can actually push updates to the application through your local network. So instead of pulling updates from our cloud, because everybody wants it AirGap, you can actually deploy a small server within your existing infrastructure, where you can have a file store of the latest version of AirGap AI completely secured so that you can pull any kind of new updates for the application from that local server instead of going out to the public internet to do it. So things like that, we're constantly adding to the application to optimize the experience. Good.
You said it was $96 for a perpetual license?
That's right.
Okay. What if, let's say, user drops their laptop, they need it replaced? Is it possible to deactivate the perpetual license and move it to a new laptop?
So, great question. Quite frankly, this is honor system based.
Yeah.
So we designed AirGap AI for the U.S. military.
Okay.
And the use case there was, completely isolated off-grid connectivity.
Yeah.
And so we actually do not ever call home for verification of that license.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people look at us and say, well, that's ridiculous because how do you know that, you don't have somebody who's copying it to 10,000 devices? And we say, look, it's not part of our business strategy.
Okay.
Our goal is just to enable as many people to utilize the technology and get benefit from it. And so, that would be like one of those things where it's like, we're not going to come after you for doing that, right? Like if it's the same device and it's a replacement, that's fine. We kind of bake that into our pricing structure.
Okay. My other question is it strictly business-based, or do you have a consumer side of it where if I wanted to get one for personal use, you have that available?
Yeah, you can buy it directly from our website, or I'd recommend buy it from Datavox just because they'll probably give you a better price than $96 because that's MSRP.
Okay.
You can use this totally on your personal device and have it secure. So we'd love to have you do that and get your feedback. Yeah, please go ahead.
Follow up on the previous question there. What's the end user's experience if they lose that laptop and all that history, right? How does that transfer over if I get a new laptop, or do I have to reteach on the new device that model?
Great question. So it would be the same answer for any other file on that device. So, hopefully we're at a point where people are knowing the importance of backing up their data. And so this is all stored locally within that user profile. So as long as your user profile is backed up, when you restore it, you will restore all of your data as well.
Follow up on that. Got my mind flowing on that one. How big are usually the stored files to back up? Are we talking like gigs? Are we talking terabytes? Megabytes?
Yeah. So the data sets themselves very small. So to give you some context, like Dell Technologies, top 100 products that you'd want to equip a salesperson to be able to speak about. There are probably 2,000 to 3,000 questions that a customer would want to ask about every single one of those products. So that's like 200 to 300,000 questions in total. In an uncompressed format, we're working on compression right now for it. Uncompressed, those 300,000 most common customer questions, probably about 3 gigabytes. But again, that data set is something that would be stored in a local server and pushed to the devices. In reality, most people are going to have a couple hundred megabytes at most of data sets. But again, that's not even your chat history. Your chat history is like 5 megabytes if you're like really doing it a lot, because it's just text storage.
Okay. Yeah, just wondering if it could be uploaded easily to OneDrive and everything.
Yep, absolutely. So final thing I want to show you that's really cool is we have a powerful technology that's totally unique to this that's called Entourage Mode. And Entourage Mode allows you to chat with multiple different AI personas in the same chat. So just to highlight this here, you'll notice these quick start buttons here at the bottom. These are user role and persona configurable. So if you are an IT team or you are an AI administrator strategist for your organization, this is how you can enable your teams to quickly maximize the benefit of AI without having to be expert prompt engineers. You can create custom workflows for all of your users based on their role. So a salesperson may have something like this one here, which is the cover letter, right? Customer proposal cover letter. Your HR people may have one that's like analyze HR policy or write me a new policy, right? All those things can be pre-configured so that they don't have to figure out the nuances of that prompt engineering. The other thing that you can do is you can configure one of these entourage mode scenarios, which has the ability to add any number of AI personas into that chat with different prompting, different perspectives, so that you can ideate, strategize, and get feedback, almost like a virtual focus group. So we've got a sales-based one here. I'm just going to ask it a question. I'm going to say, I'm launching a new product called AirGap AI. It is a 100% local chat LLM solution that is 1/10 of the cost. It runs on a Dell AI PC. What do you think? Keep answers short. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and initiate that here. And it's going to go through 3 personas. The first one is going to be the marketing persona. Once the marketing persona has finished, it will transition into a sales persona. We can reveal the personas here under the advanced settings if you wanted to. And then the final persona is the engineering persona that will provide some perspective there as well. So the idea is you can have these different scenarios where, if you're going into a meeting and you've got salespeople that need to practice their presentation to a CIO, right? And you've got a CIO, a VP of IT, and somebody else in the room that's like a naysayer that doesn't like your company. How do you win over the VP and the CIO while neutralizing the naysayer? Right? Your salesperson can actually practice and go through one of those strategic conversations in advance of the meeting for that product or service. So there are a ton of different things that you could do with the entourage mode. Another one that we have, just to show you in the settings here, you can enable and disable these. You can have as many as you want. So one of the ones that we were playing around with as we were testing this was the idea of a customer focus group. So like in this case, it's a female focus group on like that you could use for like clothing or makeup or some kind of women specific line of product that you're trying to launch. And you want to get perspective to see which demographic is going to be most interested in a neon orange lipstick, right? Is it going to be the teens? Is it going to be the grandmas? Is it going to be somebody in the middle? Like, you don't know to find out. So there's a lot of flexibility here. I know we're getting close or are at overtime. So Any other questions before we stop here? Okay, yeah, let's do.
This runs on a Dell AI equipped system. So assuming we don't already have that, but have a reasonably good standard business laptop, is it
It'll work.
runnable but slow?
Yep,
maybe?
that's right.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so if you've got like a 2024 Intel chip, it'll work. It'll be a little bit slower. The AI PTC is like night and day in terms of, the ability to run a more powerful model, like 10 times faster in a lot of cases. But you can still at least test it out and play with it, and, get that experience. So, and just as an offer for you guys, if anybody wants a free copy of AirGap AI for your own personal use to test it out, just come up to me after, give me your email address, and I'll send you one. Yeah, go ahead.
Is it only on Windows? Is it also?
Only Windows right now. We will do one on Mac here soon, but not just yet.
Look at an i7.
Is there any intent that they all can go to other devices as well?
Like mobile? Not yet, but maybe one day. Thank you. Thank you all. Really appreciate it.